One of the ways I choose to spend my time is as a volunteer with a nonprofit group recovering from religion, where I lead a support group for my local area. I met Michelle through this activity, and she had some strong feelings about harm done by Christianity. We chose to focus on harm to women in this conversation that we conducted over Zoom. After we recorded this interview, she wrote me an email asking where I stood on her claim. The response I wrote encapsulates my thinking about the conversation. Here's a bit of what I wrote. As we talked, we got into a number of correlating factors: poverty, lack of education, and so forth. And I started to question whether religion was a causative factor or just a compounding factor. For example, could lack of education be a primary cause of both religious belief and misogyny? I was surprised that you rejected the idea that religious scripture was a good reason to believe the claim. The Bible is the foundational document of Christianity, and it seems to me that the Bible provides primary justification for the intention to keep women in an inferior position. On the other hand, if you talk to devout Christian women, they will tell you that they feel cherished and that they want to play a traditional role in the family as defined by the Bible. So I think we need to clearly define what we mean by harm. I might start by proposing that all humans should have an equal right to self-determination. Women who want to be trad wives should have that right, and women who want to be novelists or architects or politicians or wildcatters should have that right. If religion is an influence that in its founding documents asserts that they can only be the former, then I think that is probably sufficient justification for believing that Christianity is harmful to women. I invite my listeners to join the conversation. What do you think about Michelle's claim? And do you think the methods she uses to determine what is true are sufficient justification for her belief? Let me know in the comments. My name is Nick, and this is Conversations on the Coast. What do you want to talk about? It sounds like you may have already thought about a claim or a belief you'd like to examine.
Well, I think I've narrowed it down. I'm kind of between either, and this isn't a claim I would just flippantly make in kind of polite company, either one of these, but either, and I don't want to say religion because that's like a huge umbrella and hard to pin down. So I would say maybe Christianity is harmful, or I could say there are no gods, or gods are, byproduct of evolution. The two,
well, let's
I'm willing to SE.
Yeah, let's explore that and see what kind of lands.
Or that the gods don't exist.
I think
the positive claim.
Yeah, I think the positive claim about gods not existing is something that is discussed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And my initial inclination is to say that the claim about Christianity being harmful seems like it feels like there's more nuance and maybe might be a more interesting topic.
Okay,
but
sure. I can go either way.
Yeah.
I absolutely can go either way. But those were the two claims. I mean, if I'm going to make an assertion, those would be the two. But yeah, I'm literally 50-50 on them. But yeah, Christianity being harmful, yeah, for sure.
Let's start there and see where it goes. I find, sometimes these chats wind up with a subclaim or something else, but we can start there. So let's start by kind of expand on that for me, like help me understand in a little bit more detail, like what do you mean? First of all, Christianity is a very, very broad topic. So can you kind of give me a sense of when you say Christianity is harmful, what specifically do you mean?
I would say more the institution of Christianity. That's a good question. Do you mean like denominations? I mean, it's kind of hard for me to say because I was never a Christian. um,
Yeah, what is the thing that is harmful?
so I'm not claiming that, Christianity or religion in general is the sole, um, you know, can reason for like societal ills or anything. But I do think that it's a pretty substantial contributing factor. I mean, I think that it contributes to, say, things like people's poor ability to cope with illness, death, dying. I think it contributes to tribalism, misogyny, homophobia. I think that religion and in the United States, right, it inhibits maybe more healthy or like less jingoistic forms of community, for example. And as far as Christianity,
Mhm.
I think like Catholicism, for
Mhm.
example, more fundamentalist Christianity, but really any church that's getting taxpayer, that's a that's not paying taxes, but has a bunch of people coming in. And I don't know what the like mega churches are. I have no idea what denomination those are. For example, they're paying a church that has a pastor, for example.
Yeah.
It's preaching from, I guess, the Christian Bible, and they don't pay taxes, and they're sitting on land that they don't have to pay property taxes on.
Mhm.
That to me that would qualify as Christianity.
So let's talk about that in terms of the harm. So I've heard several things.
Sure.
One is I've heard that um, something about how they have kind of like a free ride.
Yeah.
They're not paying taxes. They're getting free land. I
Yeah.
heard that people have a hard time dealing with illness and death.
Oh, I
Yes. Oop, did I lose you? Now you're muted.
Yeah, the we I couldn't you cut off,
Oh, sorry.
and I
Yeah,
thought maybe the internet was, so you said
could be.
something. I
Yeah.
didn't catch what you said.
So the couple of things I've heard so far are, yeah, about the church kind of getting, sounds like you're saying, if I paraphrase, they're not paying their fair share.
Sure.
I heard about people having a hard time dealing with illness and death.
Hmm.
Uh, Several other things. So I'm
Um,
wondering if you can kind of narrow things
tribalism.
down. Tribalism, yeah, was another thing. What is tribalism an example in your view of a harm?
I think so. I think religion kind of perpetuates that. Sure.
Okay. Religion in general or Christianity specifically?
I think religion in general.
Hmm.
I'm trying to I'm very hard I'm trying really hard to keep it to Christianity and not
Yeah.
religion in general, which is very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Is there something that you think Christianity specifically does or
Christianity,
is that's harmful?
I would say misogyny and homophobia.
Hmm. Okay.
I do think the whole afterlife. idea, though, does hinder people coping with like illness, death, and dying
Mhm.
as well.
Why don't we pick one of those to focus on? What do you think of the two of those? What do you think is in your opinion, is the most harmful?
The most harmful.
Like between,
Ooh, God, that's hard. I mean, all of them are harmful. Oh, I guess we could say maybe misogyny and homophobia. Can we go with two? Misogyny and homophobia? Or
here's
do
here's
I have to
the
pick one?
well, um, I guess the question is, from an epistemological standpoint, the things that support your belief,
Hmm.
are you using the same methods to determine that Christianity is harmful because of misogyny, as you are as saying that Christianity is harmful because of homophobia?
Oh, I gotcha.
Or are those different things? Let's, is it okay for you?
Probably not. No, probably not.
So
Uh,
if you were going to pick one of those,
gotcha.
which one would you like to?
I guess let's go with misogyny.
Okay. Yeah, my inclination is to go that way as well. And the reason is when I look at the percentage of the population that's impacted by misogyny,
Well, it's half.
51%. And
Right.
the percentage of the population that's impacted by homophobia, I guess you could argue that it's fairly large, but the direct impact is to LGBTQ individuals, which is, maybe 10 to 20%.
Right. Correct.
And now that I say that, I'm realizing that the impact is not to them, but also to their loved ones and so forth. But
The impact of misogyny affects literally everyone, including men. So
okay,
it hurts everyone.
okay, so let's stick with that. And you
Yeah.
mentioned like mega churches, so maybe we're talking about like evangelical Christianity. Is that?
Sure.
I don't
Yeah.
want I don't want to push you into a corner or define
I
your.
mean, that works. Well, in Catholicism, which is, a pretty big offender, Catholicism and evangelical. We could even go with, we can even divide it up into just fundamentalism and evangelical and Catholicism, and leave the more lukewarm ones out of it.
Mhm.
We could even, parse it up that way. I mean, I think they're harmful too.
Yeah.
Just maybe it's maybe more of a matter of degrees. But yeah, I can leave the lukewarm Christians out of the mix.
Which of those three, what do you think? Which of them do you think is the most harmful, creates the most harm through misogyny? So Catholicism, fundamentalism, or evangelicalism?
Oh my God. Wow. In the United States or worldwide?
Uh, Great question. What do you think?
I'd say in the United States, probably evangelicals.
Okay.
Worldwide, I'd say Catholicism.
Okay. Well, let's get into kind of some of the reasons, and then we'll see if the difference becomes material. So, what would you say is the main reason that you believe that misogyny caused by the Christian religion is harmful? Actually, hold on. Before we get there, I want one more definition, which is harmful to whom or to what?
Women,
Okay.
or those who identify as women.
So, um, so Christian religion is harmful to women.
Yes.
So, what is the main reason that you believe that?
The Wow. Just one reason, or
I mean, if
I mean, like
I guess you can talk about
politically?
what your reasons are, and then maybe we can bring it down to that. But
Okay.
is there one reason in particular that?
I mean, no, there's not one. I mean, there's a multitude of reasons. I mean, there's political reasons, there's social reasons, there's economic reasons.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, this isn't a simple issue. I mean, for I'm not going to say millennia, but at least way longer than I've been alive.
Mhm.
Um, Religion or religious doctrine has, at least in the U.S., has very been a part of why women's rights have taken so long to, I mean, really why women took so long to have just the right to vote, why women were not able to have the right to have control over their own finances, their own bodies, why marital rape was considered perfectly fine, why women couldn't divorce their spouses, why it was perfectly fine and legal for husbands to physically, sexually, financially, and all other ways abuse their wives. Women were seen essentially as property. Much of this was informed by the United States being predominantly Christian, lawmakers being predominantly Christian. That's politically, socially. Women who did work outside the home, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, were very much looked down upon. Women who did divorce their husbands, which took like an act of Congress. My own grandmother divorced her husband, and she had two children. Was seen as a pariah. She basically, she didn't literally have a scarlet letter on her chest, but she was very much shunned by society. This was back in the 30s. And that's how, her fellow, well, she wasn't Christian, but her fellow, citizens treated her as if she were some sort of loose woman, for being divorced, for divorcing her husband, who was beating her, because that was just something that women were supposed to put up with. It was biblical. Um, and that was just very common back in the day.
Mhm.
So this is just, and it's taken so long for women to have just very basic rights. Um, and I know you live in Washington, I live in California. If you have ever lived in areas of the country like Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, where it's very, very religious, I mean, very religious. The religious people are very religious. Um, the way women um, behave, the way men behave. If you are an assertive woman in these areas of the country, it's a very different experience as a woman versus living on the West Coast, or hell, even being in somewhere like um, New York, Chicago. Um,
Mhm.
Very different, very different.
Okay. Let's take a hypothetical.
Sure.
Uh, First of all, let me take a step back and let's talk about confidence scale.
Yeah.
Um, like on a scale of 0 to 100, where
Okay.
100 is, your percent confidence. How confident are you that Christianity is the cause of these harms?
Oh, the like capital T cause.
Well, actually, let me not put words in your mouth. What's your confidence level that Christianity is harmful to women? It sounds like you're tying Christianity to the past and possibly present subjugation of women.
Yeah, I'm definitely tying it to it, correlating it for sure. Um,
How confident are you that's causal?
I would say it, I would give it, I am, I'm going to say 90% correlation.
Is it possible that if Christianity were not as prevalent in the United States, that the same situation could have come about?
So if we, you know, you're saying if we rewound the clock,
Yeah.
and in somehow things wound up differently and people were way more secular, like we were like Sweden or something.
Yeah. So if, as a hypothetical, uh, well, okay, let me do something a little bit different. If you could become convinced that Christianity
Not being religious.
was not that being religious was not the cause of women having lesser status in society.
I think it would be impactful. I don't think it, I think women would still um, be subjugated,
Mhm.
certainly, but um, I think it would, it would have for sure have been an improvement. Like I said, I don't think religion is like the capital T source um, of everything. Like I don't think religion is the source of all evil or anything like
Yeah.
that. I think it's multifactorial, but I definitely think it's a contributor.
What percentage do you think of the what percentage of that effect do you think is attributable to religion as a cause?
Oh wow, that's a really good question. You know what? I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea.
Um,
I wouldn't know how to even determine it. I mean, because there's so many other factors.
mhm.
Um, I mean, like access to resources, education, technology, um, health, longevity, maternal infant mortality. I mean, holy crap, man, there's like way too many variables. I wouldn't even know how to calculate that.
So if it's difficult to calculate what percentage religion contributes, is 90% the right confidence level for you to have?
Yeah, I think so. To think that it's a a pretty good contributing factor, sure. Um, because we can look today at countries that used to be religious that are no longer religious and look at equity like gender equity,
Hmm.
um, where they used to be, where they are now. Now, granted, they also have lower poverty. They have better equity in all other measures. So there's no way to know, is this because of all these other metrics, or is this because of less religion? Don't know. No way to know, right? Um, but they also have less religion. So we don't know like what percentage of it is all these other metrics and what percentage of it is that they're, a bunch of atheists, who knows? But if you look at the United States, you look at the states with the higher cost of living, the lower religiosity, these states tend to be healthier, more educated, have better access to resources and so forth. It's the same thing. There's no way to know which one is the biggest contributor. If
Is is that correlation? I mean,
Yeah, correlation.
you seem to have a pretty strong case for there being a correlation.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's harmful. I just don't think it's. I don't think it's like like the end all be all. I don't think it's the primary, the sole evil contributor to. I'm not one of these atheists that runs around, oh, all religion is the cause of all ills. And no, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, poverty, for sure, lack of education, lack of access to resources. I mean, there are a ton of things that contribute to misogyny, homophobia, tribalism, lots of things. But religion is definitely not helping, and I think also contributes. Lack of education also contributes. I mean, all of these things do, but I think Christianity is harmful. I don't think it's helping matters. I think it makes it worse. I think it exacerbates it.
So if it's difficult to show a cause for that correlation, what other reason can you point to that supports your belief that religion is something that contributes to misogyny?
Another reason, like other reasons for misogyny?
Well, so your claim is that the Christian religion is harmful to women.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned a bunch of things that are correlations. So the United States is highly Christian, and until recently, women have been subjugated and lesser than in our society,
Well, and still are. I mean, to some degree.
and still are. What other things could be the cause of that?
I would say education.
Your-
Education, for one. The more educated people are, generally, I'm not saying that there aren't well-educated misogynists. That's not what I'm saying. But as a general rule, the more educated an area is, the less misogyny you have. I mean, if you look at places, I keep bringing up like Sweden and Denmark and the Nordic areas, they do have much better equity. Iceland is another great example, where they do have better equity, and they tend to be better educated and less religious. I've thought a lot about this.
Yeah.
I've thought quite a lot about this over the years.
As a hypothesis, could lack of education be the cause of both the misogyny and the religious belief?
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
Well, not 100%. That's a colloquial saying, 100%.
Sure. Understood.
I don't mean 100%
Yeah.
certainty. Right. But yes, generally, the better educated one is, the less religious people are. That's not always true, but yeah, overall, generally, more educated people do tend to be less religious.
Okay. So, so it seems like education could, like you could kind of swap those out, right? You could say, uh, if people are less educated, the society is more misogynistic. You could also
That's
say,
probably true. Yeah, I guess.
you
True.
could also say societies that are more religious, more Christian, are more misogynistic. How do we attribute like cause to that?
Well, I don't know that you can make a causal link.
Mhm.
Um, Also, you know what? Another thing occurs to me. And this one's a little more tenuous.
Mhm.
Um, just as I'm glad you're doing this, because it's making me think more. But people that are in poverty, um, well, I don't know. That's way too tenuous. And I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I was maybe going down a bit of a rabbit hole thinking poverty and misogyny, but I don't think that's really the case. I don't think that's accurate. Um, I don't think there's a correlation there, or if there is, I don't know it. I mean, there's definitely a correlation between religiosity and lower socioeconomic status, but that just might be because of education again.
Yeah. Okay. So,
But I don't think I don't think that has anything to do with misogyny
yeah.
per se.
Are there any other reasons that lead you to be convinced that religion is a major cause of, well, one of the things I'm struggling with here is,
Contributor, maybe.
yeah, you've mentioned as a contributor, you've mentioned a correlation,
Right.
but I think we're having a hard time kind of pinning down how it contributes or how much it contributes.
Well, I don't know how much it contributes.
What is your intuition or what is your suspicion about, or what do you think you could support? Um,
Well, my understanding of Christianity, I mean, not having been raised Christian, is, well, I've read the Bible.
yeah.
It's pretty. I mean, it's pretty misogynistic. I mean,
Okay.
Women are property. I mean, I don't know how you could get around that. Um,
Well,
and
that's good. I mean, that's a different reason than you mentioned before. So, if you were going to like make a pie chart or divide up your reason between what the Bible says and presumably you're talking about Christianity as a religion which is governed by the Bible. What percentage would you apportion to that foundation, to the misogyny in the Bible versus just the observation that societies that are more Christian are more misogynistic?
can you try me again? I'm
Sure.
not
So
sure.
we've been talking about your belief. The reason for your belief that we've been talking about is that society or U.S. society is largely Christian and is also misogynistic. Now you're bringing in another piece of evidence, or another reason, which is that the Bible is misogynistic. Which of those reasons seems to you to be a stronger support for your belief that Christianity is harmful to women?
Oh, I mean, to me, it's more just the data that so I was bringing up the Bible because you were asking me where I thought the belief or the misogyny came from.
Yeah.
And so that's why I brought up the Bible.
So is the Bible one of the pieces of evidence that supports your belief in your mind, in your belief structure?
No, I mean, no, not really.
Okay.
Not at all. I mean, I'm just presuming, I guess.
If the Bible,
I mean, I mean, I guess that's where they get it from. I mean, you'd have to ask a Christian,
yeah.
right? Which actually I have. I mean, the ones that I've asked over the course of my life, that's generally where it comes from. But I mean, I can't presume to speak for all Christians.
If, let's say, the Bible generally as a book were neutral on gender,
Mhm.
would that affect your belief about whether Christianity was harmful to women?
I mean, no. I mean, because like I said, the Bible is pretty irrelevant to me.
Okay.
I couldn't care less what the Bible says about literally anything. I brought it up because you asked where I thought these misogynistic beliefs came from.
Mm-hmm.
And I just presumed that it was from the Bible.
Right. So is it then, what is it that you see happening with Christianity specifically that you see as being the causative factor of misogyny in the culture?
I mean, I presume it comes from the Bible,
Hmm.
which is, to be honest and fair, I mean, it is a misogynistic book.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've read the Quran. That one's pretty misogynistic too. So. But I'm not real up on Islam,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know the info on that one.
Okay.
So I don't know how harmful that one is.
I'm thinking
Okay, no worries.
just to, I mean,
I'm still pretty much at 90%
yeah, and
as I'm pondering this.
yeah.
Not any higher. Um,
What would reduce your confidence
I
from
was
that?
just thinking that.
Yeah.
What would reduce it is if everyone, if the religious landscape of the U.S. stayed the same, but over, I don't know, whatever, in my lifetime, women were somehow no longer subjugated, like at all. It just became a non-issue. We had honestly, pardon the expression, honest to God, equality.
Mm-hmm.
That would absolutely change my percent.
Is it true that women are in a better position now than they were, say, like you mentioned, the 40s or the 20s?
Oh God, yes. Oh, 100% yes. Good Lord. Yes, absolutely.
Would you say that we're as much less religious as women have made improvements?
Yes. Yes, the United States is less religious. But that's not a causal link. It's correlated.
Yeah, so that's what I'm the thing I'm still struggling with is,
And there are a lot of reasons for it.
yeah,
There are loads of reasons for it.
you're mentioning that the you're mentioning that, the correlation. I think, you have a lot of data points to talk about the correlation. I'm still a little bit tenuous on the causation, and I'm wondering if there are other reasons other than what we're talking about that lead you to believe that one of the major causative factors is religion.
Well, so religion definitely contributed
Mm-hmm.
to women being subjugated. It was not the sole reason.
Mm-hmm.
And women's status in the United States improving was because women got tired of it, number one. And the pushback was, for a lot of it was religious thinking. There's a lot of other things too. It wasn't just religion. There were
Right.
a lot of reasons. And every step of the way, religion making grounds, they were up against lots and lots of different issues. Some of them were religious, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of religious objections, a lot of other objections, economic objections, for example, men saying, well, they're going to take our jobs, for example, who's going to take care of our kids? And so on. But yeah, some of the objections were absolutely religious. And that's still arguments that are going on today. If women do X, Y, or Z, we can't have women, for example, fight. This happened in both mine and your lifetime. We can't have women fighting on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't have women doing, whatever. So not all of it is religious. Some of it they make secular arguments for. But there are still religious arguments for lots of things why women can't do whatever. I mean, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
But then they'll have lots of other secular arguments for it. So it's not 100, it's not always, because of religion. Religion's not the cause of everything.
Right. Okay.
But I still think religion's harmful. I think we would be better off without it. We would still have problems, right? We would still have misogyny.
So, other than misogyny, can you think of an area where you think there's a stronger causal link
That's stronger.
where religion is
Causal.
causing harm?
Oh, causal. Ooh, that's a hard one. Um, ooh, that's a tall order. Um, well, I mean, I don't even think homophobia is 100%. I think it's more religious than misogyny, but I don't even think that's 100% religious. I think there are other more cultural reasons for people to be homophobic that aren't even religious, but I think it's stronger, more causal. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, maybe I can leave you with that, and you can.
Okay. Yeah, that's something for me to think about, though. What is one thing that is solely on religion's shoulders?
Yeah.
That's a hard question. That's a really hard question. What is the one thing that is uniquely religion's fault?
Or alternatively, what is the causal relationship? What is the impact specifically that religion has that does harm,
Yeah.
as opposed to
Wow.
other social factors, or maybe religion like creates dogma around existing social stigma or something. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but something to
Yeah.
think. Cool. Do you have
What can we blame religion for specifically?
so do you have
That's a great one.
do you have questions for me, or feedback on this process, or what didn't I ask that I should have asked, or where did I go wrong?
You didn't. I think we just had a little misunderstanding at one point about like the Bible, because yeah, I think maybe I misunderstood what you were asking. Um, that I think it was just a misunderstanding. I thought you were asking me like why Christians um, are why I think Christians are misogynistic, and that's why I brought up the Bible. Because to me, I don't care at all about the Bible. And then we got off on a tangent about that, but that was a little bit confusing. But otherwise, I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
I think you did really really well. I can't think of anything you didn't ask. But I haven't looked at any SE, and it's been a while. It's been a while for me.
How did you feel? How was the process for you?
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I was hoping I'd change my mind.
Okay.
I was really hoping I would like change my mind. I was hoping for a come to Jesus moment.
Literally.
Right. But I do have homework, so that's a good thing.
Awesome. Yeah, leaving with homework is always a good thing.
That's cool. If I find anything, I will let you know.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Let
That
me
was fun.
uh,
So yeah, email me
homework,
the.
so.
That's awesome. I like that. I don't know how to do that.
It's a Mac specific feature. It's in the Mac video, just on the Mac, the Mac Silicon. This is so yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for taking the time to do this. And
Yeah. You know what? Anytime. I'll do the no gods exist.
cool. Maybe
That would be fun. I wouldn't mind coming
another
down.
time. Yeah.
That would be cool. Because I recognize that's not scientific.
Yeah, I mean it's an exercise in exploring like what you use to support your beliefs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that would be fun. Well,
excellent.
cool.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe schedule
yeah.
that for another time.
Send me the YouTube link. Just shoot it to me by email because
I
I hate
will.
Slack.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, and I do have your email address, so I will shoot that across, and
All right.
I'll look forward to talking to you another time.
All right. Thanks a
All
lot,
right.
man. Take
Take care,
care.
Nicole. Bye. You've been listening to Conversations on the Coast, a series from Washington State featuring civil conversations using street epistemology to explore what people believe and why. Find out more at streetepistemology.com.